Okay, so this recording is intended for those who weren't here during the discussion, or even if you want to make this your review material, that will be fine. So we started with the discussion on part of the fourth chapter, I think, of this book, Solomon and Higgins, The Big Questions, and that's from the Nature of Reality chapter. It has a special mention on Immanuel Kant, and the modern view of Immanuel Kant is just like other modern philosophers. Uh, so the data from experience, they would like it to comport to the contours of human understanding. So the way we would like to put it here is that when one sees the world, one is seeing the world already as ordered by the categories of the mind, as he mentioned here, and in another way of saying it, the world is essentially constituted by us through categories that our minds impose on them. So, but we will not be uh, discussing the entire architectonics of the mind, or the different components of the mind according to Kant, but at least we know how he views reality. No, so there's an interaction between the mind and the world in that case. No, so the mind or reason becomes an ordering tool always in talking about reality and forming knowledge about reality. And probably that's also the reason why many of the modern philosophers were very much reliant on reason. And the reliance on reason is also uh, a main characteristic of what they call the Enlightenment philosophy. And Kant is probably counted as one of them, and he even has this essay. No? Many of the modern philosophers also thought that way, but sometimes, and this is the complaint of many postmodern or even contemporary philosophers about this modern attitude, that sometimes your over reliance on reason, you push it even to the extent that you're going to claim that reason can solve all the problems of the world. No? And that's the reason why the UN thinks that it can actually achieve what it wants to achieve by the year 2030. Then everything would have been achieved. No, all goals of whatever the human mind and whatever scientific or even rational plan for an objective for all mankind would have been achieved already. Of course, there's a lot of questions concerning that, if that's even achievable without including or imposing austerity or human suffering on others. No, and that's it doesn't mean though that the enlightenment or the attitude of enlightenment is no longer useful. As you can see, we highlight here the attitude of Kant when he says sapere aude. That means uh, dare to reason, or dare to think for yourself. But that also means sometimes we need to think of ourselves, or think for ourselves even without the aid of an authority. In that case, many Enlightenment philosophers would like to grow out of religious authorities, the that we experience during the medieval period, perhaps, no. And they would like to get into an attitude of thinking on your own, no? But sometimes it can get, as many contemporaries suspected, uh, it can get a little bit too much. The chapter of the book, The Big Questions, on that chapter, it talks about the differences between the three German idealists, Kant, Schopenhauer, and Hegel. While Kant would like to use reason in order to turn it into an ordering tool, perhaps in understanding and the creation of knowledge and uh, making claims about the world, about nature, and making claims about morality. In the realm of morals, reason is also going to be used in order to come up with ways of thinking that are quite orderly, so that it will have advantages, uh, when employing them, like the categorical imperatives. However, his contemporary Schopenhauer thinks differently because, well, according to the commentary, Schopenhauer, uh, all that there is, according to him, is human desire and passion. Uh, so the world is an illusion, and only the will is real. And what will happen is that when everything is motivated by the will, and the will is most probably irrational because probably it's driven primarily by passions and desires, then what you have in reality really is uh, or the goals of mankind, whatever goals he has, will be pretty much motivated by the very things that he was saying, and sometimes it results to uh, you know uncertainties, no, uh, and of course it might involve uh, some of these things that are listed here, different moods, despair, ambition. And you can take a look at political life in the country, for instance, how people, are not really motivated by ethical concerns, but rather by most probably passions and desires and ambitions. That doesn't mean that there's no morality at all. It just means that how the world is now not how the world should be, if you're thinking in terms of Kantian or Socratic philosophy. So what Schopenhauer's point is that that's how it is in reality. It doesn't mean that that is how it should be. Okay. So onward to Hegel. Hegel's understanding of absolute spirit, and this is the metaphysical character of reality according to Hegel. So if Kant is saying that all reality is ordered by the categories, so indeed there is such a thing as physical reality, and he is a realist, but it interacts with the mind. So it is really human language or human claims and statements that make sense of the world, of the reality. For Schopenhauer, all reality is characterized by will. For Hegel naman, no, uh, the unity of the world and the mind is what he calls spirit discovering itself. And there, according to many commentaries, there are many ways of describing it. Uh, Sometimes it gets associated with the term God, but God in terms of a metaphysical idea, no? According to people like some writers like MC Lemon, for instance, no? Discovering itself. And sometimes other commentators would say it's substance. But what really happens is that if you are a substance, or if you are a consciousness, uh, what you are really is that you partake or you participate in the movement of history. And the movement of history is no other than the absolute mind coming out of itself and experiencing the other, and then going back to itself. And then when it goes back to itself, then it has already changed, no? There's already a synthesis that happened, and let me just read what is written on the slide. No, while the components of reason, order, state, and experience in Kant, reason in Hegel, if reason is an individual mind, for instance, no, what it does is it participates already, and it tries to discover the inherent logic or dialectical process of the absolute mind. So the goal of history is to really understand absolute mind or absolute spirit and gradual self-transformation. So not that you are completely passive, but you participate in that process. So in that process, you are also changed alongside the changes that happen in the absolute mind, no? So that's where history is bringing us into. It's definitely a linear progression towards something, no? Perhaps if it is an idea, then the world is constantly changing and developing and expanding also. So to further that view, perhaps, no, let's take the commentary here. I think this is from the same book. Uh, Hegel envisioned a single cosmos with constant internal conflict, an all-embracing spirit developing itself through all of us and throughout history. As a spirit, the world is a kind of cosmic consciousness, a universal mind. Okay, sometimes they associate it with the term God, no, but uh, uh, probably it's just very safe to say it's absolute spirit. And uh, one of the best illustrations would be to draw a spiral, which is already expanding also, because it changes. You know, ideas get developed and ideas transform and ideas expand. So you can think of it as a substance. You can also think of your individual mind as a substance that participates in the changes that happen throughout history in the developing world spirit. And this is just a very simple way of illustrating, perhaps, you know, thesis, antithesis, and synthesis here. So that dialectic actually is the inherent logic already in the world, and you participate in it, and um, uh, you will never be left untouched or unchanged, perhaps, no. So you, from point A, you uh, participate in the process of the absolute mind, and it knows the other, and then it goes back to itself. And so there's a synthesis that's happening. uh, so until we reach the absolute point of self-understanding, like if the world itself is mind and you are participating in it, no, you will come to a point of a complete self-understanding of the self, perhaps, no. And there are other, we will not go very deep on this, but we will probably, you're always free to consult with other commentators, and in fact, probably Professor Sadler here in his YouTube channel has like a 30-minute discussion on Hegel, and it's a very long list, and there are many uh, uploads, no, already available in this channel. So if you want to go deeper into this, probably you can consult with other commentators, and probably he's a good one because he also teaches philosophy. Okay, so there definitely is, which is what we want to emphasize, Hegel's philosophy of history really is not only a linear one, probably it's a linear one that has a teleology if you want, and teleology is really when from the term telos, which is goal or purpose. There is a purpose and it is moving towards something, which according to some commentators, again from Solomon Higgins, this is a very old concept, from the ancient philosophers still. A teleological view of the world is one that thinks of the world ultimately and has a goal, purpose, and is continually developing. So, again, just to repeat what MC Lemon said in his Philosophy of History, there's a purpose in Hegelian thought or in the Hegelian concept of philosophy of history, if you want, no? The bringing together of the world as we know it with the underlying ontological dimension of absolute reality. Uh, Philosophy then is key to the understanding uh, the key to understanding reality, for it is his abiding belief that, or Hegel's abiding belief that what we call existence or actuality is imbued with mind or reason. Okay, so the task of philosophy is to discover this reason inherent in the world as we know it. Perhaps it's difficult to understand the term whenever we associate it with the term God, because oftentimes some people uh, cannot disengage it from perhaps a Judeo-Christian notion. This is very different from a Judeo-Christian notion, personal God, and this is also different from a religious stance, for instance, no. Perhaps this is entirely metaphysical, if you want. It's spiritual, but metaphysical, if you want. It's like what he's saying here. It's an absolute mind, or the unfolding of an absolute mind. Uh, Even if we are unable to explain it completely, perhaps as a metaphysical construct, what Hegel wants to emphasize here really is the process itself, the dialectic, the inherent logic, and that would be enough, perhaps, to know how it works, how it works. Even if you call it absolute mind or God, then that's really how it works. It goes out of itself and comes back to itself, and then it gets transformed, and one day it will arrive at a complete self-understanding. But later, when we discuss about Marx, we will give perhaps, from metaphysics, you will have like a political or a concrete or material, if you want, no, expression of what he calls dialectic.